There we go. Sometimes this YouTube live doesn't kick in, so I have to keep redoing it. Don't know why. So my audience is on TikTok, so that's why I'm looking up here. But I put them on YouTube. That's where they're saved, my lives. I do these lives every day. Okay, hello. 144. Oh, I understand now what that little square means. It means that you've been to 7 of these lives. I should look that up, shouldn't I? The last 7 or something? I don't know. Someone told me what that little blue box means there. So you've got Gemma, you've got 4. Does that mean you've been to the last 4 lives, or you've been to 4 lives total? Does anyone know what that means? I could look it up, but sounds like a lot of work. I just know it's one of those things that would take me forever to find. So, because I'm not techie with all that stuff. So anyway, before we get going, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. It's wet right now, rainy a little bit. And I'm all like, wearing my winter top. So anyway, it's frustrating. 4 lives total that I've commented on maybe. Yeah, okay. I think if total, yeah, I would think total would make sense. Okay, Texas. Hi, Texas. Thanks, Gemma. Lisa Jordan, you've been here before. Indiana. But then why are there not, if you've been here before, why do you not have that little blue square rectangle? Okay, I will have to look that up. Look up blue rectangle. It's going to drive me nuts now. Okay, so where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, and Germany. Hi, Germany. I was there in 1980 for Oktoberfest. Well, I wasn't there for Oktoberfest. We just came upon it, and it was Oktoberfest. My birthday's in October, so I was there on my birthday, and then it was Oktoberfest too. Is that a whole week or a month? I don't know. Does it go for the whole month of August? October, I mean? Oktoberfest in August. Yeah, Lisa, good one. Okay, so where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. West Virginia. Hi, West Virginia. Used your advice on tantrums and worked amazing. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. It just does. Sometimes takes time, but it does work. It just does. They learn to only do what works. Kids are like that. We're not like that. Kids learn to only do what works. If tantrums never work, they just stop having them. It's just the way it is. So, and any attention is working. It's feeding it. So that's why you got to ignore tantrums. Very quickly seeing change. Excellent. Someone said something. I'm not really on Instagram, and that I don't understand it. My daughter puts my videos on there because she's into all that stuff. So she just posts them on there. And overnight, I jumped by 200 subscribers, which on Instagram for me is a really big deal. So I couldn't figure out why. I thought none of these videos in the last week have done really well. Why would it jump up to I think she was German. She had just said that on my behavior, she obviously looked at my behavior board, and she said that what she picked from this, which I've never heard before, she said what she liked is there was a different rule for every member of the family. And I never really thought about that. I'm going to write that down, actually. Not something I've ever really thought about or talked about. I mean, I do it when I'm coaching and that, but I never thought to really discuss that. But yeah, you can have the same rule. Like if all the kids are hitting, then you put no hitting for all the kids. But if only one kid is hitting, you just put that down. So everyone basically has a different rule. Anyway, that's why she's got a big following, and evidently and then she didn't mention anything about me. She just linked Bratbusters, and that's why I got 200 extra. So it's a bit of a mystery how all this works, but mystery solved. Okay. Became number 13 member on the team. Became the number 13 member on the team. What does that mean? What does that mean? It's like a brown thing with a heart. What does that mean? Just got the number 1 gift badger. Thank you. God, I wish I knew what stuff meant. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to look up all these different things so I understand what I'm looking at. Yeah, I don't understand that. Anyway. Don't be me. Kay joined. Hi, Kay. Anyway, okay, I'll just do my intro now and then we'll get going with your parenting questions. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses. My new course is out now. If you've got 3 to 12-year-old, it teaches you step by step over 5 weeks how to become a calm leader. It's fantastic. The people who have gone through it just raved about it. So I could not be happier. I wasn't sure how it was going to go. But yeah, it went great. So love doing that. Anyway, or else you can just download my free behavior board. That's free. It teaches you how to give respect to get it because you're on there too. So, and also I can announce it now. I've got my first grandchild on the way. So it's been killing me not being able to talk about that. I'm really excited about that actually. Well, I am and I'm not. How do I put this? It's like grandchildren are great, I guess, but you have to give them back. That's what it's like. How can that be like parenting? I loved parenting, but to have a baby and then have to go, oh, here, it's not mine. So I'm sure I'll be excited by it. Of course I will, but it's not the same as parenting to me. And I knew someone else who loved parenting as much as I did. And she goes, yeah, grandkids are great, but it's not the same. You have to give them back. I don't want to give them back. Okay. Okay, let's go now. What's your take on screen time for 2 to 3? Oh, thanks very much for the congratulations. Yeah, I've known for a while, but I couldn't say anything. So yeah, it's nice to be able to say I'm going to be a grandma in December. I'm very excited about that. What's your take on screen time for 2 to 3-year-olds? I don't have an opinion on that, in that nobody really knows. Okay, I would suggest you don't have the TV on all day long. Obviously, you want them to do other things, but I don't really have a strong opinion on that. I just don't. I like creative play. The one thing about screen stuff is it's not creative. In Australia, we had this phenomenal channel. We only had like channels 7, 9, and 10. They were the mainstream channels. And then we had channel 2, which was a government-run channel. It was predominantly all children's stuff during the day. It was all like for kids, and it was fantastic. They had these wonderful shows on that were very creative, and kids would get ideas on how to do things. And but yeah, they watched that, but other than that, they didn't really watch TV. So yeah, I don't, or watch screens. I don't have a huge opinion on that, but I do know that it tends to squash creativity, and it encourages boredom, because if they're not getting that screen stimulation all the time, they tend to get bored easier. That's what I've heard. Well, I haven't heard that actually. That's what I've noticed with kids. Sometimes I'll just say, because it's just my own idea, so I'll just say, oh, that's what I heard. No, it's what I think happens, because from what I've seen. Causes for perfectionism due to parenting. So I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what you mean by that. I certainly don't believe in perfectionism. I think it's a fallacy. And plus, who'd want to be around anyone perfect anyway? How boring would that be? I wouldn't want to be perfect. I want to be flawed, because I want to be able to show kids, we all make mistakes and that's okay. If you're setting yourself up to be a perfect parent, what kind of example are you setting for your kids? Like perfectionism is the way to go? No one's perfect. I think you should be nice. That's different. But being perfect, I don't get that. Doesn't make any sense to me. It's usually insecure people try and be perfectionists. They just do, because they're not okay with being flawed or failing. I have no problem. I'm pretty secure. I'm pretty confident. I have no problem failing and admitting it. Yeah, I messed that up. Silly me. But I'm into self-deprecating humor. I was kind of raised like that. So failing is part of life. It's part of what makes you human. It's part of what makes you vulnerable and likable too. So yeah, I don't like perfectionism. I've known the odd person who tries to set them up as perfectionism. They're tossed out of my life. Like, I just find them boring. I like fun people who are flawed, but they have to be nice too. Okay, 3-year-old, how do you adjust to a newborn coming home? You don't. Good luck with that. How can you possibly prepare a young child what it's going to be like having a brand new human being in their life 24/7? Good luck with that. I've never, once seen anything that works well with that. They're either going to adjust easily or they're not. But yeah, how can you possibly prepare them for how can you prepare yourself for a new baby? You agree you're not really prepared for what's coming with your first kid. That's what it's like for them. If you can't prepare for a new baby that first time you're a parent, how can they prepare for being a sibling and having to share you? You can't prepare for that. Okay. What do you think of the circle? Oh yeah, don't ask me about other parenting stuff. I've never looked at anything else, because they're asking me about the Circle of Security parenting course. I have no idea. None. I don't look at, why would I look at other people's stuff? Because then you're asking me to critique that. person who invented that. You're asking me to critique that method, and I don't do that. I'm very careful, and I stay in my lane. So yeah, I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue what anyone else out there is doing other than what clients tell me. And even then, I'm careful with that. Oh yeah. Oh, I know a troll when I see one. Don't worry. 15-month-old who bites. I have a whole course on that if you're interested. It's one of my mini niche courses. It's on bratbusters.com. But you just correct them. You say no, and then you stop them from biting or whatever, and then you just walk away. So you say no, and then it's consistent corrective actions. It is not words. 15-month-old, they don't, like, words mean nothing to them. These mini therapy sessions that are really trendy right now, they're just garbage. They're absolute trash. Get rid of them. They do not work with toddlers. They're all about actions, and that's it. Okay. Yeah, I can't believe now I'm doing it. I was just going to say, I can't believe I didn't go on about the mini therapy sessions because they frustrate the heck out of me. And now I'm doing it. So see how imperfect I am, how flawed I am. So yeah, those mini therapy sessions, because they're my nemesis. It's that, that pleaser parent that's so popular right now. It's just going to backfire big time down the road. But yeah, these mini therapy sessions discussing all these big feelings and big emotions around tantrums and everything. And someone asked me in one of my videos or in one of these, and they said, well, how do you validate their feelings and emotions? It's an organic process. It's not something that you purposely do. You become a good listener, but tantrums are not, you don't respect that. You just ignore it. You don't have to validate absolutely everything. Okay. Can you please tell that pool party story again with Brian, I think. I really liked it. With Brian? Well, there's no name attached to that. The pool party, that's my absolute favorite story that I tell because it's got lesson after lesson after lesson. There's no names in it. But anyway, I'll tell you the pool story. My son, we had a pool in the backyard, obviously. No, we had a pool in the bathroom. Anyway, so we had a pool, and my son was, I think, 8, and he had 5 friends over, and it was just me and these 6 little boys. So, because my husband at the time took our daughter somewhere else. So anyway, so it was just me, and I was just counting heads the whole time. So I'd said to them, by the way, Whaley cannot go in the pool. Whaley was a giant blow-up toy, and we didn't have a pump, so we had to blow it up, and so I didn't want to have to deflate it. So I just said, Whaley cannot go in the pool because I can't see behind it. So 3 kids could drown behind Whaley, and I wouldn't even know it. Anyway, fair enough. They all get in the pool. Sure enough, one of these little boys, and they all knew me, by the way. I was at school every single day volunteering, like helping with the kids that were, disruptive. So they all knew me. And that's why I was surprised this happened. Anyway, so he got all worked up, and this one little boy pulled Whaley in the pool. And I said, Whaley, out of the pool now. And he said, no. And my son went like this, because he knew Mom knows how to take care of business. He was going to look forward to the show. So anyway, I had that kid out of the pool so fast, he didn't even know what happened. And my son got Whaley out of the pool. Anyway, so I had him sitting beside me, and I said, you're going to sit beside me now for 10 minutes. So while he's sitting there, I'm timing it, and I said 10 minutes starts now, whatever. And I went in fully clothed, by the way. So anyway, I'm looking at the clock or whatever. So I said, okay, 10 minutes starts now. And I'm chatting to him about everything other than what just happened. So I'm saying, oh, I saw you at soccer the other day. You got a goal. Good for you. That was really well played. And you did really well on that test. I'd helped him with the test the previous day or something. I said, you did really well on that test. Good for you. And he's like chatting away. He's having a great time. So I go, okay, 10 minutes is up. You can go back in the pool. He kept talking to me. I said, finally, I got him back in the pool. Anyway, and then I said to him, I said, okay, go have fun in the pool. Now, number one, why did I not say, please take Whaley out of the pool? Because why would I? It's like he'd already disrespected me. So now it's a direct order, like this is a safety issue. Whaley, out of the pool now. And he said no to me. Now, why did I go in fully clothed to get him out of the pool? Take action fast, okay? So I had him out of the pool. And when he's sitting there, why did I not discuss what he did wrong? Why would I not do that? Because it's just dragging him through the mud. Instead, what I did was I bonded with him. I'm making him feel good about himself. I could have sat, if I talked about what he did, I'm pushing him down, pushing him down, pushing him down. He's going to hate me. He's going to hate himself. He's going to hate the whole party. Negative, negative, negative. I don't do that. Instead, I'm building him up. I'm discussing everything he does well. I'm making him feel good about himself. Why am I doing that? All of a sudden, he thinks I'm his hero. He just can't stop talking to me. He's having a great time. And he was good as gold for the rest of that day. His self-esteem was up here, felt great about himself, felt great about me. Couldn't bend over backwards enough to please me for the rest of that afternoon. It was almost sickening, but he obviously doesn't get a lot of that because he was a handful, right? So anyway, and then when he went back in the pool, why did I not say, don't do that again? There again, treating him like the bad kid. I just said, go back, have fun. Okay, it's just one lesson after another in that story. So anyway, for the rest of the day, he's good as gold. He's treating me great. The kids are all having a great time. Whaley never went back in the pool. I got the results I wanted. Plus, I went up like that in leadership skills. Plus, all the other boys are watching too. So they say, boy, Sean, my son's mom really knows how to handle herself. So, okay, that's the pool story. I love that one. I think, another story. There's 3 stories I tell all the time. That's my favorite. I have to repeat myself again and again when asking toddler to pack up a toy. Well, I only say something once, and I don't know how old they are. Are they 2 or 4? Like, because people think 3 and 4-year-olds are toddlers. I call those preschoolers. But yeah, so I don't know how old they are. So I would say, can you please put that toy away? If they don't, I would go and pick it up and put it on top of the fridge. I wouldn't say anything though. They learn actions. It's actions, not words. I wouldn't, these mini therapy sessions. Well, I asked you to do it. That's why it's going on top of the fridge. Next time you'll know better. Jesus, a bunch of garbage. It's actions. Just take the toy. Can you please put that toy away? And they don't do it. I go and pick it up very quietly and I put it on top of the fridge. Done. They learn. But it's no big deal. If they have a tantrum, that's none of my business. That's on them. Okay? Plus, are you being fair and reasonable? Are they just having a great time and there was no warning? All of a sudden, put the toy away. I don't do that either. I kind of set them up for success. So I say, okay, the toy's going to be put away soon. Okay, you've got 5 more minutes to play with it or whatever. So I give them a warning. So you always want to set kids up to succeed, not to fail. So then I say, okay, now I want you to put the toy away. And then they don't. I walk over and I put it away where they can't reach it. You see that I'm setting them up to succeed, not to fail. That's their choice. If they choose to disrespect me, that's on them. It's none of my business. I don't get involved in that stuff. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't. How they process what just happened is none of my business. They will learn. They will just learn. It's an organic process with children. Well, okay. I don't understand when you say build them up and not tell them what they did wrong. Can you explain? Cool story. He already knew what he did wrong. Like, he's not stupid. He knows exactly what he did wrong. Now I'm working on that bond between him and I. I'm showing him what a leader I am. Leaders build people up. They don't knock them down. I knocked him down by pulling him out of the pool, and he had to sit beside me for 10 minutes. That was the discipline. But then I'm working on my leadership skills. I'm building him up. I'm making him feel good about himself. And I'm the source of that. No one else is making that kid feel good about himself. He was a handful. I knew him. He was a handful. So, all of a sudden, I'm the source of his high self-esteem. I'm the source of him feeling good about himself. What is that? What position am I in now? I'm the leader, right? He's going to do whatever I ask of him the rest of the day, right? Because he feels good about himself with me. You don't want them to feel good about you. That's a byproduct. You want them to feel good about themselves when they're with you. Therefore, they want to please you as a result of that. So that makes it's all psychology. But when you're around someone who makes you feel great about yourself, don't you want to please them? Don't you want to be around them? Right? Would you be mean to them or anything? You see what I'm saying? His self-image with me was wonderful because I didn't knock him down for doing that. I dealt with it, though. Very quickly, I dealt with it. So he already knew. They're not stupid. Don't go on and on and on about what they did wrong. They already know. Yeah, too many people treat kids like morons. Well, I had to explain exactly what he did wrong. No, you didn't. He already knew. Wouldn't about an autistic kids. That's all coaching, one-on-one Zoom coaching. It's on my website. I don't discuss that on here. It's more of a specialty. I work with it, but I don't discuss it on TikTok. My 3-year-old is making me lose my mind over his whining and temper tantrums. If you're losing your mind, check out my course. It's for 3 to 12-year-olds, not for the kids, but for you. And check it out. It just goes through step by step how to set yourself up as a calm leader, week by week. Anyway, it's on my website under courses. So check that out. If you're really losing your mind, great place to go is that course. Lots of parents are losing their mind. Plus, you got group coaching. You can see other parents talking about all the same stuff you're going through. Okay. How do you make them feel good about themselves? Few examples on how to do it. I talked about his great, like how he did really well on a test that I'd worked with him on previous day at school. I talked about how I saw him do a really good soccer thing. I talked about how good he was at swimming. I talked about everything else. I liked his hair. He had blonde curly hair. Gee, I wish I had hair like that. I love that blonde. I just build him up. Just, build him up. You're really strong for your age. Are you tall for your age? He's like, he didn't want to leave me by the end of it. I had to just about throw him back in the pool. But if you're the source of them feeling that good about themselves, he would not have taken Whaley in the pool again. He would have been humiliated and ashamed because at this point he's looking up to me. And they need leaders, by the way. They need a leader. If you don't provide that leadership for your child, they're going to look elsewhere for it. They're going to look to the peers. They're going to look to the drug dealer on the corner, the Kardashians, the internet. They're going to go searching for a leader somewhere else if you don't provide it. They need, crave, and want leadership. Every single child does. It's a natural instinct to look to a leader to learn from. Ignoring the 2-year-old tantrums works. Yeah, it does. Thanks so much for sharing that. It just does. I've got hundreds of messages from people telling me how well that works. Do both parents need to be equal leaders? Great question. Absolutely not. I was very much the leader in our family, and my mother was too. My dad was more he gave in to everything. But when you get to a certain age, when you're a little kid, you don't like that. I'm going to tell mom if you let me do that. Like, you just get to that point. You tend to follow the leader. My ex-husband was the same. So we used to call him the treat master. We still do. It's just a nickname. And he was the one who loved giving the kids treats. And that was great. I didn't, because I left that up to him. That was his thing. So he's a great dad, but he just wasn't into discipline. I was very much the leader, and I didn't want him messing the kids up. I knew what I was doing. So, but what he used to say was, when he had them alone, sometimes when they were little, they would push him around a bit more. They weren't as respectful. So what he learned to do, I said to him, just say, "Do you want me to tell mom?" And that's all he had to say. "Do you want me to tell mom?" "No, never mind." And I never even did anything. I was just the leader. You absolutely do not both have to be the leader. It's kind of nice when you got that yin and yang going on, right? So yeah. Opinion on twins in the same class or not in elementary school. Okay, so that's not a straight answer. It can really work beautifully, or it can work not so beautifully. So what you're asking is, should twins be separated? Not necessarily. Depends. They're all different. I've worked with triplets, and they weren't separated. It went well. I've worked with triplets who were separated. It didn't go well. You just don't know. So I can't generalize that. How much say in decisions for schooling should a 14-year-old have? You're in that zone where you're transitioning into the teen years. They should have a lot more say in their life. But if they say something ridiculous, like, "I just want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be an influencer and earn millions of dollars on YouTube," say, "Yeah, don't we all?" But in the meantime, you've got to learn how to learn, and school teaches you self-discipline. So you've got to kind of take the hard line sometimes with them, but you also want to listen to them, and you want to give them something. So they might say, "Look, I don't want to do that anymore." Say, "Okay, you don't have to do that anymore, but we'll replace it with this." Or you got to negotiate more with them. So you do give them a say, but it depends on what it is, right? Okay, how do you handle when grandparents approach conflicts with parents on the child when staying over? That's none of their business. I've always said that, none of their business. Unless you're beating your children, you know what I mean? Like, unless you're abusive, it's none of their business. I would say, don't undermine my parenting, please. It makes me feel bad. That's what I would say to them. Like, I've got my first grandchild due in December now. None of my business how that child's raised. But when they drop that kid off at my place, it's grandma's rules. They already know that. They're fine with that. They both said they're going to try and parent the way I did. We'll see. They won't. They'll have their own style. It may be better, maybe worse. It doesn't matter. It's none of my business. Like I don't, I'm not bossy. Like I don't tell my kids what to do. And I never really was. But yeah, I don't tell my kids. Why would I do that? Why would I want to make my kids feel bad about their parenting? You see what I'm saying? Um, tell your kids that. Tell your parents that. Why are you trying to make me feel bad about my parenting? Talk about your feelings. If that doesn't get them off your back, then nothing will. You know, like they're just in their own head. Yeah, I won't be offering any advice. If they won't even ask my advice. They already know exactly what I'd say anyway. So, but it's none of my business. But what if they say no to something, but you allow it at your house? Well, okay. If they are babysitting, it's grandparents' rules, except if it's like nutrition or something you really want to put your foot down. Like, I don't want them watching TV all night. But if that's all it takes, let's say you have out of control kids and that's all that keeps them quiet. If you've got someone else looking after your kids, I think you should just not say much about it. Like, as long as I'm assuming it's someone you trust, right? So, but yeah. But when it's your home, if you're there, it's your rules. I wouldn't want to be undermined as a parent. I never had anyone tell me what to do. Well, I was pretty confident anyway, but I have 3 awesome teens. My mom tells me it's just them who they are, but I also think it's me. I think it's like, could be either. I don't know. Um, my teens are pretty easy. Everyone used to say to me, "You're so lucky you've got such easy kids." And people who really knew me, they knew I put in the work. So yeah, take some credit there. And I always say that you should always take the blame for whatever your kids are doing, always, always. But that also means you take the credit too. I took credit for my kids. I'd say, yeah, I put the work into them. That's why they're so easy. Love your mom's bank. It's so creative. Yeah, I just did that. I don't know where I came up with that idea. I thought, how am I going to teach them how to manage and respect money? And that's how I came up with that. Your mother isn't giving you credit. Yeah, take credit. God, I would. I did, for sure. I took credit. Not for my daughter. She was born easy. I'll be honest. She was born super easy, but she would have been more shy. She's not shy. So she says I gave her that. I gave her a lot of confidence, because I'm a real extrovert, and she would have been more shy, I believe. But her behavior was just perfect. My son was more normal. He had tantrums, but he was a super easy kid too. But then I put more work into him, for sure. But not much. They were both pretty manageable, but I don't know. But yeah, I took credit for that. The Mum Bank. Okay, the Mum Bank, there's a whole bunch of videos on that, but one of them, geez, it reached like 1 million. Oh, I think I got it pinned. I think I do. Anyway, it's at the top there. It's allowance versus chores. And it explains, did I explain Mum's Bank in there? I don't know if I did. Anyway, it's called allowance. You just look up Bratbusters allowance if you want to know more, but I'll just go into it right now. Anyway, what I did was when my kids were 3 years old, I started giving them allowance. Every Saturday morning, I'd say, okay, it's mom's banking time. So I had a book and I had 2 kids. I started one in the front and one in the back. And it was a 3-column ledger, they called it. It's in Australia. They don't make them here, but in Australia, they have these, just the way they were set up. It was a red book and it had 3 columns. So every Saturday morning, I go date description. So it was like Saturday, such and such. And then the description was allowance. And then it was debit, credit, balance. And with I wrote it out with them, but they couldn't touch it, only me. It was Mom's Bank. So I was like the banker, the teller. So I would say, okay, so here's your allowance. And we started when they were 3. I started discussing money with them. And I said, okay, now you've got this much money. Now the thing was, it was their money, but they couldn't just spend it on whatever they wanted. They had to discuss it with me. And they'd say, I want to buy something. And I'd say, no, I don't want you having that many toys or that many things around. So you have to wait till Christmas or your birthday, see what you get then. And then if you don't get that one thing you really want. So there was always a discussion around spending. Also, I gave interest. And what I did was I gave 10% interest on every $100. So when they saved $100, they got 10 extra dollars. When they got to 700, they got 70. When they got to 1,000, they got $100. And my son was really sneaky. What he did was he'd been saving some cash that he'd got as gifts or something. I don't know what happened. He was like young. He was about 8 years old and he did this. And so we've been saving some money. So it got to like $800 and he had it all figured out. So it got to about $800 he'd saved. And so then he says, oh, and I've got some cash saved up, which wasn't what he didn't do it like it wasn't a bad thing to do, but I didn't know about that. I thought, why wouldn't he just give it to me to put in here? So anyway, then he gives me enough money. He got up to $900. Then he says, okay, now I get $90 interest. Then he had another $10. He got like $190 in that one transaction. He just wanted to see it go up like that. So anyway, so then he ended up getting tons of extra money just from he had $50 or something that he'd given me. It was hilarious. So I was like, oh, geez, clever boy, right? The way he saw that fly up there. Anyway, when it went up to 1,100, I only gave $10 on each 100 after that. So he didn't get $110 on, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, when they only got that interest on the allowance once. So if they spent money, and then he would say something like, Mom, there's a brand new PlayStation game out. Can I please buy it? So I'd say, okay, well, let's discuss this. So every time they wanted to spend money, it was a discussion. So I'd say, okay, here's your balance. You have $400 or whatever, and it's an $80 game. So you go down to $320. And back in Australia, they didn't have sales tax on stuff. So we knew exactly how much everything cost. I love that. That was great. Anyway, so I said, okay, so you got $400 or $320, whatever. This is how many weeks it'll take you to get up to that again, and then get interest on 500. So you got to, and oftentimes he'd go, oh, never mind. So money, there was a discussion around this every single time they went. Plus, as they become teenagers, once they're 15, I cut them off. They had to go out and get a part-time job, and I took them to the bank, and they had to do all their own banking after that. The stupid thing with me, I was a single mom, and I never put this money aside. They had saved thousands and thousands of dollars. So, and I'm a good saver too. So I had the money, but it hurt, you know? So anyway, I went to the bank, they got their own bank cards, and they were on their own after that. But all their money went in here, all their gift money, all their allowance money, whatever, it all went in there. So that was Mom's bank, and they were happy with it because they just saw it as a positive. Plus, leadership skills. It just made me, it's one more tool to look like a leader, right? So I'm doing something, it was always positive. When they're teenagers, every Saturday morning, come on, we're going to do Mom's banking. But if they didn't turn up, they wouldn't get the money. They had to turn up and see me put it in there. So it was another way of connecting with teenagers, right? And it's positive. And then while you're writing it down, I took my time. So we'd be chatting and, you know, so yeah, it's just win-win, positive. I love that. But like I said, and you don't pay for chores. Chores are completely separate. You live here, you clean up after yourself. That was my attitude. You live here, you contribute. I'm not paying for that. I'm not paying for you putting your dirty underpants in the laundry hamper. Why would I pay for that? Like, that to me is ludicrous. So I don't pay for chores. But they deserve to learn how to manage money. So that was my attitude. How much did I pay them? I don't remember. I think it was half their age every week. Until they got older, then they got their full age every week. But when they were 3, they didn't get $3 a week. They would have got $1.50 a week, I think. Plus, if you're starting this now and you've got 3 or 4 kids and they're all different ages, you have to back pay the older ones. So if you're starting a 3-year-old on allowance, but you've never given the 8-year-old any allowance, you have to back pay all that money the 3-year-old's going to get. You have to back pay. So start small. Get what I'm saying? You can't just start allowance with an 8-year-old if you're also starting with a 3-year-old without back paying. So anyway, that's it. That's Mom's bank, and worked great. Did that for years. Do I say anything to my 2-year-old when they're about to start a tantrum, or do I immediately ignore it completely? There's no way I would try and stop a scene, a fit, or a tantrum ever. Welcome it, because I want them to see how I'm going to handle this. It's like, whatever, and I'm just ignoring it. I want them to go into the scene. If I see a scene coming on, I'm like, oh, please let it happen, please. Because I know behind every scene is a lesson for them, not for me. But yeah, never try and stop it. Never. Still ignore the tantrum, only if it's not disturbing other people. Otherwise, drag them out to a parking lot or put them in the car and let them tantrum there. But yeah, I ignore them if we're out in public, but only if it's not bothering other people. Like in a restaurant, I would never do that. That's just so rude. So yeah. I can usually tell if a kid walks into a restaurant what kind of meal I'm going to have. Because, yeah, I'm like, sometimes I've even got up and left. I don't want my meal ruined. You know how I can tell? It's, well, the body language, but also I'm looking at the parents. I never judge kids ever, because all their behavior is just a result of the parenting. I'm watching the parents to see how they're going to deal with stuff. And if I see something coming on and I know those parents aren't going to know what to do, I'm out of there. That's my personal life. I want to sit and enjoy a meal. I don't go anywhere where there's kids anymore anyway, for dinner. Oh, you got an 18-month-old. Yeah, just check out my website. I have some mini courses on that. I don't have a course on sharing. You cannot teach a 18-month-old how to share. It's impossible. But you can teach them how not to snatch stuff away from someone else. So, no, I don't have a course on that. Look on my toddler playlist up top here. Oh, that just reminds me of something. Just a sec. Just remembered something. But yeah, the toddlers are all under 3 years old. They're all about consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. Words are useless. Don't use words. These mini therapy sessions are absolute garbage. That you shouldn't be doing. What about the other person? How they feel? Oh God, it's just garbage. They're all about consistent corrective actions. So if they hit, you say no, and you remove them or the other kid for a minute or so. Make sure there's a consistent corrective actions. They will learn. It's the only way they're going to learn. They might learn not the 10th time, probably the 50th or 100th time you do that because they learn through repetition. It has to be consistent though. If you don't do it one time, they're going to remember that one time you didn't do it. They're going to think, well, I got away with it then. I'm going to keep doing it. So you got to be consistent. That's why when I'm teaching people how to become a calm leader, it's 1 rule per week. That's it. You can only handle 1. I would handle every single rule first day. I never used a behavior board. I would handle everything in 1 day, but I'm level 10 with what I teach. I know how to be calm. I know how to do all that, but you're usually not there. You're usually not calm, and you don't have the answers yet. So you're learning with 1 rule per week. That's it. Parents always say during coaching, one-on-one coaching, what about all the other 50 things they're doing wrong? I'm saying, so let it happen. I don't care. You are managing 1 rule per week. That's it. You get better at it by week 2. You get better at it by week 3. You're even better. Then we stop using the behavior boards. Then you get in the moment discipline. Anyway, it's all in my course if you're interested. It's called Calm Leadership. It's 3 and 12-year-olds is that age group in there. Um, Well, 4-year-old will help clean up after playing. Do I leave it? Okay. That's always an awkward question for me. The reason is I don't know what your home is like. I'm a very organized, clean minimalist. So when I said clean up, there was like 2 toys to put away. It was no big ask. So is it a chaotic playroom? Then it's almost overwhelming for a young child. You see where I'm going with that? Make it doable, set your kids up for success. I kind of ran my household like a school in that every activities came out. Now you're going to have Play-Doh time. Now we're going to pack that up. You're going to get cleaned up. And that stays only at the kitchen table. And then we're going to do something else. That's why my kids were never bored. They understood routines. They understood that they can't have everything out at once. They weren't overstimulated. There wasn't everything coming their way. So that's why I'm suggesting maybe make sure you're organized first, and that when you say we're going to clean up now, make sure it's easy to do. It's obvious. There was an empty space on the bookshelf where all the toys went. My kids had to make their bed, put all their stuff away, and put their laundry away. Put their laundry away every single day from the age of 3. And it took them under 2 minutes because I did a toy rotation system. I didn't have many toys out. They had to put their books away. Then I went in later, and because I'm very fussy, I went in, I fixed up the bed the way I liked it. I organized all the books, according to size, so it all looked pretty. But I would never put that on my kids. So yeah, I didn't expect them to do it perfectly, but it had to be done. And I always had an empty hanger where the shirt went. There was an empty spot where the underpants went. Like I made it very easy for them to do. So make it manageable. Like school is like that. They know where everything goes and it's very manageable. They also know they're not going to get to do that next thing until that's done. My kids would never have asked to turn on the TV if there was a mess. They knew, clean up the mess, then you can watch TV. They just understood you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. So where's the incentive for your four-year-old to clean up? Is it a really easy, quick thing to do for one thing? And then do they get to go on to the next thing without cleaning up? Like, where's the incentive here? I don't know. Like, I'm just throwing stuff out there. Organize just one game. Well, then they don't get to do anything else until that one game's put away. But he's 4 years old. That's a tough one to put down there. You can't just say clean up after yourself. It's too broad. On the behavior board, I don't know your household. I don't really want to say because I like to be specific on the behavior board with the rule. So yeah, I don't know what to say about that. just because my mind's going in a million different directions, what your household's like. So I can't give you a general answer. Okay. My son won't clean even though no food till clean. What do I do? 6 years old. Well, then there's got to be a consequence. But like I said, is it manageable? Is it doable? Is it easy to do? So say if you don't do your chore, put it this way, have a chore chart. And the chore chart has nothing to do with the behavior board, and then it's completely separate. But on the behavior board, you put down follow chore chart. And it can be something like this: clean up after being asked to do 15 minutes after being asked to do so, or there's a consequence. So, or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. Plus, I don't know what kind of parent you are. That's kind of not where you start with all this. Like, what I mean is you're kind of asking week 2 or 3, whereas week 1, we don't usually, the cleaning up is a harder one to deal with because it's so general and it requires some respect to get that one done. I don't usually start with that when I'm working with clients. Anyway, if you want some help with all this, I do have a course out now. It's on my website. And if you have a 3 to 12-year-old, it teaches you week by week by week how to get respect. But that, I wouldn't probably put that in week 1. Yeah. Got to get some leadership under your belt before you can really handle cleaning up after yourself. I guess that's why I'm pausing so much. It's kind of a more difficult one to deal with. How much is the course? It's $497. And you get 5 weeks, 5 lessons, and then 5 Zoom coaching, group coaching with everybody. God, I loved it. Someone said, well, can you drop the price and we don't have coaching? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't want to miss out. I'm loving it. I want to be in it too. So, and it's the coaching that makes it all fun because they get to see other parents. And you know what? You're not the only one struggling. You should see all these beautiful, successful, happy people who are struggling with parenting. Normal, smart people, successful people who are struggling with parenting. You are not the only one. I'm a great parent now, but if I was starting out, that would be a great investment. Yeah, I mean, it's just about setting yourself up as a leader. And then it's because it's the age 3 to 12. Boy, I struggled with that. Do I do 3 to 8, then 9 to 12, then 13 to 18? And how am I going to do this, right? And I thought, no, because a lot of it from 3 to 12, you're very much the leader. And I just teach leadership. When they're teenagers, you want them to be more the leader. And when they're toddlers, that's different too. It's all, there's not on the behavior board. They're not on the behavior board. That's different. I've got something else to deal with that, which should be out today. Anyway, but the 3 to 12-year-olds, you're kind of the leader. It's kind of the same. From a 3 to a 12-year-old, I do break it down into different age categories, like, different things for different ages. But it's very similar. You're very much the same parent with a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old. It's very similar. 13, it changes. And there's a few shifts. 9 to 12, there's a few shifts too, but that's all covered in the course. Anyway, yeah, my God, they just did so great. Their results were, I would say, 50% better than I expected. I thought they would be, like, they're almost the same as private coaching. So long as you don't have any crisis work or anything really serious, or you don't need any help yourself emotionally. If you need a lot of emotional support and help, then that's private coaching, one-on-one. A lot of parents need that or want that. So, but their results were almost the same as coaching. I was shocked at that. It's because they saw each other, and plus they got a Facebook group, which helps too. That I don't run it, but it's mine. But I mean, I'm not in there a lot, but that's on. They can talk to each other in there too. Anyway, it's going great. Okay. Meant grandparent. Wish I could afford it. Okay. Grand. I see your courses for ages 3. Do you have a course for the teens? Not yet. That will be coming next. I figured out how to do it. I thought, how am I going to teach teens? Yeah, I thought, how on earth am I going to do it? There's so much to go over, but I figured out how to do it. So I've got that all up here right now, and I'm going to get that out there. I'm still working on this other course. I'm changing it because people are telling me, can you please add this or add that? So I'm still heavily just focused on that to make sure it's as good as it can be right now. So that's still my focus. I don't give grandparent advice. I just don't, because if I told you something and the parents didn't like it, you see, I only teach parenting. Plus, okay, well, I'm not a grandparent yet, but I will be in December. And when I am, I will never give advice that isn't asked for. It's none of my business how my kids raise their kids, and they already know. And because they know I'm like that, they know I'm not going to intrude. I'm not like that. But if they come to me and ask me advice, then I would help. But even that, I don't think they'll ever ask for my advice because they both said they want to raise their kids the way I raised them. And they know exactly how they were raised. So why would they ask for advice? I don't think they even would. 50% better parenting. Their results were 50% better than I thought they would be. Like literally, I knew exactly where I thought they'd be by the end of those 5 weeks. And they were like 50% better. I thought they'd be at like 50% of coaching. And they were pretty much right with coaching, one-on-one coaching. I was shocked at that. I thought, well, because I'm very results driven. I'm obsessed with your results. I work up a sweat. If I'm dealing with someone that's just not getting results and I'm just throwing everything at them, I'm literally working up a sweat. Your results I'm obsessed with. So I thought, okay, of course, it's got to be 50% of their results of coaching. It's got to be. It's got to be. But it was almost 100%. It's almost exactly the same. So that shocked me. Can a household have 2 leaders? Yeah, so long as they're on the same page, absolutely. It's rare, though. It's rare. But the kids only need 1 leader because they tend to operate under the leader's umbrella. No matter who they're with, where they go, how they tend to operate under the leader's umbrella. So you only need 1 leader. You're going to be a grandma. Yeah, in December. I'm very excited about it. But it's not like having your own, because the only thing, yeah, I'm excited, but it's like, yeah, you get this baby, you're holding it, and then you have to hand it back. Like, how is that as fun as parenting? Like, I just don't see it as being anywhere near as fun as parenting. I love parenting. And I had no family around. I didn't have to share my kids with anyone. Like, I just loved mothering. I had no support. I just had me and my husband. He was away, he worked a lot. He was a great dad, but he was, I was on my own a lot. And I loved it. But I think grandmother, yeah, it'll be great. Yeah. But how can it be anywhere near as good as parenting? Because I have to hand it back. Oh, this is great. Can we have our kid now? Yeah, whatever. Like that's what's going through my mind. Isn't that crazy? And I knew someone else who loved, years and years ago, we were talking about this, and she goes, do you ever think about being a grandmother? And I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of like renting a house or renting a car as opposed to owning one. You have to hand it back. Like, how much fun can that be? And she said she had like 10 grandkids, and she goes, yeah, it's not as fun. She loved parenting too. So it was the most fun time she ever had in her whole life. That's how I feel. So I know I'll love grandparenting, but how could it possibly measure up to parenting? Does that make any sense at all? She felt that way, though, and she had 10 grandkids. She goes, I love them as much as my own kids, but you have to hand them back. So most parents say they're thrilled with that. You get to hand them back. And I'm like, they're mine. Like, I don't know. We'll see what I'm like. But yeah, I am excited for sure. And I've seen the little ultrasound picture. It looks just like me. Okay. Any suggestions on how to stop a toddler from screaming? If they're screaming just with fun, just ignore it. And and then you talk quiet too. Don't try and match it, just talk quiet. So if they're screaming because they're all excited, I might just sort of wander off, but I wouldn't correct it so much. It doesn't tend to help, but just sort of wander off. And then when they calm down, then you play with it. As soon as they start screaming, I would go, no, and I might just walk away. It's sort of more subtle. One thing that you got to accept, though, is when you got kids, it's going to be a loud household. I mean, my kids weren't particularly loud, but I'll tell you, when they had friends over, oh, geez, like birthday parties, I hate that stuff. I hate it. I didn't mind it so much at our house, but out at like McDonald's or something, one of those loud where it all echoes, and kids are just insane at those things. Yeah, that wasn't my best parenting moment at all. I did it all, but it just wasn't my thing. So yeah, you're just like eye-closing noise, right? But that's part of parenting. It's just loud. Thank you. I love your videos. Give me so much advice. I soak it all in. Excellent. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to help people. And lots of people hate me, but I know lots of people love what I say. And I'm just here for the ones who want to hear what I have to say. The rest of them, I'm not the only way. There's lots of other ways of parenting too, I'm sure, that are just as good or, just as effective. But this is just my style. It's either, and you got to follow what resonates with you, what makes sense to you. If I make no sense for her, then search out someone else. But it's just based on experience. I've never read a book on kids or anything. How do you tell? Okay. Do you correct them on the spot for bad tones or rule behavior? Okay. your behavior. Yes and no. That's what I call in the moment discipline. That is week 4 in my course. And we don't get into that till week 4 and 5. We get rid of the behavior board. Basically, you can still keep it if you want, but you're kind of learning how to be a leader at that point. Then you do in the moment discipline. That's a hard thing for me to address on here because there's so much that goes behind it. It's very hard to do until you've already got some respect, is what I'm saying. The in the moment discipline, like this is how I would do it. I never used a behavior board, but this is what I would say to a kid. Let's say my kids were rude to me or something. I'd say, I'll tell you what, I didn't like that. We'll discuss it after dinner, okay? They would have been sweating for the rest of the day. And then after dinner, I would have said, remember I said we'll discuss it after dinner. I didn't like the way you spoke to me then. So what do you think we should do? What kind of consequence? And they'd come up with something. Okay, how about no TV tonight? And I'd say, that's a bit too much. How about you just give mom a scalp massage? I loved having scalp, all that kind of spa treatment stuff. So that's how I managed it. But I dealt with everything. Like I didn't let anything go. But I didn't always do it right in the moment, but I mentioned it in the moment. I like the delayed punishment because it makes them sweat and gives you time to think. I use that a lot. I wouldn't have done that so much, but I like that with my clients because it gives them time to think about it. So if you don't know what to do in the moment, say, I didn't like what you just did. We'll discuss it after dinner. You don't want to discuss it during dinner or at bedtime. You don't want to ruin either one of those, but between the two, then you can mention it and discuss it. Do you think having siblings close together is necessary? No, my kids are 5 years apart. My brother and I are like 16 years apart. That was too much. I was raised, I don't even really consider myself having a sibling in that. I mean, I've got a brother, but in that we were so far apart, I had 3 adults in the house and me. Like I didn't have anyone to goof around with or get in trouble. You know what I mean? Like there was me and 3 adults in the house. So yeah, that was a big one. But my kids are 5 years apart. I had a miscarriage in between, and I lost multiples too. So that would have had a whole litter of kids. But anyway, but yeah, they got along just fine. They were a boy and a girl, and it was a big age difference. But the way that you make kids bond too is you do everything as a unit with them, so they learn how to get along with you when you're playing games and doing stuff like that. Always mention in the moment. Yeah, in the moment discipline is trickier because you do need some level of respect already. And a lot of parents on here don't have that. So that's why I always say start with the behavior board. You do that for 3 weeks before you even really do the in the moment discipline. But yeah, in the course, the week 1 is 1 behavior board. And then I throw a bunch of other information in there, like allowance and all that. I call those like additional tips. But the lesson is week 1, the lesson is first behavior board. Week 2, second behavior. Week 3, third. Then week 4, in the moment discipline. You can still keep those behavior boards up. You got 3 of them now, but now you're doing in the moment disciplining. So I don't have a book. No, I'm a lousy writer. One day, I've been approached and it just hasn't worked out. One day I probably will, but right now I don't. Yeah. My oldest is 21. My youngest is 3. That's a big age gap. So they probably don't fight over toys and that, right? Yeah. I remember because my parents were older, and I remember my brother drove me to school one day, and they all thought that was my dad. Yeah. Thoughts on screen time? I've got a whole video on that. I've got lots of videos on that actually. Media management or screen management. And there's 3 different ways of managing that. 2 I don't like. They're okay. I don't like them. 1 I love, and I'll teach you that one last. The first one is that you have a set time each day for screen time. So let's say between 7 and 8 every single day. That's the only screen time they have. The other one that I don't really like is that they have an hour a day. They can pick whatever it is, like so long as it suits the family dynamic. They can't do it at 2 o'clock in the morning. You get the idea. So the first one is a set time. The second one is a set amount of time. I don't like either one of those because you're micromanaging that. You're kind of micromanaging this one, but not really. The one I love is the one where you say, okay, you've got so many hours per week and you can pick when that is. Okay. And then you keep track of the minutes. So let's say they've got 10 hours a week of screen time, and it doesn't include family movie night, by the way, but they've got like 10 hours of screen time per week. You keep track of the minutes. So that would be 7 times, oh shoot, I can never do this. 10 hours times 60 minutes, that's 600 minutes. So you keep track of that chart where they can see it too, but you keep track of that. So then when they use it all up, that's it for the week, and they can't carry it over into the next week either. So do you think screen time make them act out more? No, lack of leadership makes them act out more. Children who have a very calm leader in their life, They tend to have high self-esteem. They tend to be more emotionally stable. They're very secure. It just makes them feel safe. I'll tell this story. I just told it yesterday. Was it in a live? No, it was with a client. And yeah, it was with a client. Anyway, so I just told this story yesterday. It's such a good reason why you need to be a leader for your children. This is why. Anyway, years and years ago, when my kids were really young, I was at the school pretty much every single day supporting the teacher. So I was in the back of the class, just, sort of working with the more disruptive children, right? No one ever handed me an easy one. Here, Lisa, here's an easy one. It was always, can you please take that one for an hour? So anyway, that's what I did. So I'd be or just supporting with group activities, whatever it was. So, and this is in Australia, they heavily rely on parent involvement, which is fantastic. But Australians are very respectful of parents. They don't speak out or anything. We just sit in the back of the class, whatever the teacher says to do, we do. So it worked out beautifully. I love that system. I don't think that would work in North America. I think the parents would be speaking out a little bit more. But anyway, in Australia, they just don't, right? So it worked out beautifully. So anyway, I was always joking around with the other moms how much I hate kids and how nasty. I can't wait to get into class and be nasty to more kids. I just always talk like that, right? I always used to say stuff like, oh, I love kids, not my own, but other people's. I was always sort of making fun of myself. So anyway, and so one day the moms were coming in and they were splitting the kids up into about 4 or 5 different groups, and each mom had a group. So the moms were all saying, well, none of the kids are going to want to be in your group. And I said, oh God, why would they? Crack the whip. I was always joking around like that. So anyway, sure enough, all the kids wanted to be in my group, and the moms were like shocked. They couldn't figure out why, because they didn't really know me, but the kids did. So anyway, they wanted to be in my group. Then and all the other groups were chaotic. My kids were sitting there happy. They were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and the moms kept looking over like, what's she doing that we're not doing? They couldn't figure it out. So anyway, this was the funny part. A fire alarm went. It was an unscheduled one. Some kid would have just pulled it, being rotten. So he just pulled it, scared the heck out of the kids. They were grade 2. They didn't run to the teacher or their parents. They all ran to me. Now, why would they run to me? They don't love me. They don't, they like me, but they don't love me. They love their parents. Why did all those kids run to me? It was, and the teacher was young too. So it was a younger teacher, she was quite new. An experienced teacher, they would have run to her. But anyway, why? It's because they felt safe. Being a leader makes children feel safe. So don't you want your kids to feel safe? Don't you want to be a leader for them? They felt safe. They felt protected. They felt cared for. That's children desperately need, crave, and want a leader. They're drawn to leaders. They're drawn to them. So, and they want to please the leader. It's just the way it is. So that's my leadership story for today. Anyway, if you want to check out my course, it's on my website, bratbusters.com. If you have a 3 to 12-year-old, it teaches you in 5 weeks how to become a calm leader for your kids. There is group coaching in there, which I think is what makes it work so well. I couldn't figure out why is this, it just works so much better than I thought it would. And it's because we got the group coaching and you get to see each other and you're all in the same boat. And we had a lot of fun with it. They were all laughing at things. And I've got a fail for that. One of them said, here's my week's fail, what I did wrong. It turned out it was actually a win. The parent didn't even realize it because they ended up, flipping something around and it was a huge win for them. And then the other parents are learning from that. It's just fantastic. So check that out. That's on bratbusters.com. You can also download my free behavior board and you can hire me for private one-on-one coaching if that's your preference. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I got to run. Talk to you later.